evening, everybody. Welcome to the Aviation Show. I hope you're all doing very well. It's been a couple of weeks and I can't believe it. It's absolutely flown by. I suppose never start off with an apology, right? But yeah, sorry I wasn't here last week. Had a whole bunch of stuff going on. Lots going on kind of in the background and trying to get things moving forwards that hopefully you'll all become aware of over the next couple of weeks. Some quite exciting bits and pieces going on in the background to make the channel and everything we're doing hopefully even better for you ladies and gents moving forwards. But yeah, I hope you're all doing well. Please let me know that you can hear me and all that sort of good stuff in the stream as and when you can. Don't forget, please give us a thumbs up. And when I can see those going up, then that means that we can start cracking on. Great to see some of the usual suspects in here. Very low audio. Okay, I will get that boosted. Here we go. Hopefully. Is that getting any better? Ooh. Doesn't look like that's even changing. Right, hang on a second, everybody. Sorry, hang on. Oh, let's see how that does. Any better? Hopefully that's a bit better. Just let me know. But there we go. Good to see, like I say, a bunch of you in here. Who we normally see? Who've we got? GEEKSVANA. Hi, Sean. We'll be going to Sean live very shortly and having a chat about a few interesting things that have gone on. TAA, good to see you. Jonathan Andrews, nice to see you. Happy to answer a few questions on the email over the last couple of days. William from Terrestrial Reconnaissance, nice to see you, sir. Looks like I'm not drinking tonight. There we go. Not bad, not bad. I'm no Coke this time. I'm on a bit of blackcurrant and apple or whatever it is. Shamelessly stolen from the children. There we go. Good stuff. Peter Campbell, nice to see you in here. Drone Images. Who else? Cam Wings, hello. Vic Langley, hello. Congratulations on passing yesterday. Yeah, practice makes perfect, that's it. It's just been one of those things that we've not been able to do much of over the last few weeks, eh? Well, last few months, I suppose. Big G, Big George, RC video, good to see you, sir. John Ashley, welcome. Wilderness and Ale, a new one. I've not seen you in here before, so welcome to the channel. Darren Eleanor, I might have missed you, sorry. Greetings, fellow aviators, from James Cam Wings, doing his driving lessons. And I hope all that's going well. David Littlefield, nice to see you, sir. El Smeghead here. El Smeghead in the house. Hello, mate. I hope you're doing well. Are you still in Jersey, by the way? Are you out of like your quarantine and stuff now? Let us know. I've had a few drinks in Guernsey, so don't listen to anything I say tonight. There you go. Just answer my question. Hasco74, welcome. Go Stadin. Evening, new viewer, very new drone flyer. Thanks for your Drone Laws videos. You are welcome. And welcome to the Aviation Show, where we're going to chat tonight about a whole bunch of different things and answer your questions, which is, it's been a long time since we've done that, so I'm looking forward to getting in and doing that. Luke Penny, hello. Brian East, hello. Guernsey Freedom, indeed. So there we go. Ladies and gents, like I say, thanks for joining us. It's great to see you all here. I hope you're all doing well. It seems as though life is kind of almost sort of getting-ish back to normal-ish. The new normal, whatever that looks like. And I hope wherever you are, it's all treating you well. Yeah, wasn't here last week. Sorry for that. We are going to switch now to every other week. A number of reasons behind that. Again, I'll talk about a few of those as we go. A few of those will become obvious over the next month or so, I think, in what we're doing. And I think, if nothing else, it will mean that we can bring better content to you. We've got some kind of great guests coming up, and it just means we can concentrate on the quality a little bit more than the quantity. Also means, of course, that we can put ourselves at the opposite weeks to GEEKSVANA and Sean on his live show, which means he can come on, he can chat to us, give us his kind of words of wisdom, his pearls of wisdom, and then he can jump over to his channel and we can all go and watch and support him the following week, which should work much better. Just while I'm on that, there is no guest, special guest on after Sean tonight, so Sean and I will be whittering on for some time about a few quite interesting bits and pieces, and then, like I say, I'm going to come to you guys and girls for answering your questions, and actually I think give you a bit of background on what I've been up to. But actually lots of people have been asking questions on my journey into the drone industry and how all that started. So I'm going to take probably 5 to 10 minutes after I've finished talking to Sean to do that, mixed in and around questions, and hopefully that's useful to you, because a lot of people were saying, you know, it's ace having all these amazing guests on, but we don't know necessarily your background. So so that's what I'll aim to do tonight. Next week sorry, next week, next show, so the week after. I've got to get used to this as well, right? It's going to be, we've got Mark Boyt coming on, CEO at Drone Safe Register, to chat to us about what it is they do, and hopefully kind of get across to all of us as a community what it is that they do and how they'll be able to help us. So there we are. Yeah, big one this week for me. I know those of you who've been following along for a long time have been aware of this, but I had my first flight in a real aeroplane this week. Went and did a whole day of flying. I say a whole day, I spent a whole day at the airfield and did 2 hours of flying, ready for my flight test, which I have now got booked in for next week. So that should be me fully revalidated by the end of next week. I am going to pop along and do a land away on Tuesday if the weather stays good next week, and hopefully just really for my peace of mind, just because it's been a few years obviously since I've flown, 5 years since my accident, just over 5 years now, crikey, when I stopped flying, and yeah, go and have a lunch away with with an instructor, and then go back on Thursday and do my license examination test, my revalidation test, and I have to wait a month, I guess, for the wonderful CAA, who are going to take obviously hundreds of pounds away from me for the privilege of giving me a blue, I think it is now, license wallet. But there we go. So that's all going very well. Thank you for everyone who's been messaging in and asking me about all of that. One of the cool things that I've kind of got into, and for those who of you who aren't aware, you're actually sat inside my simulated cockpit at the moment. That's why the kind of quality of the videos aren't quite as good necessarily kind of video wise as they would have been, because you're on a little webcam video camera in front of me rather than the big 4K camera that we the production cameras that we normally use. And part of that is one, moving on to getting on to one of the things we're taking the channel to next, but also for me to be able to have practiced and to be able to practice as I'm flying. But one of the things that I have been up to over the last week, the last couple of months or so, I'm just trying to find where's it gone? Where have you gone? Can't find it. Okay. Slight technical issue, doesn't matter. One of the things I have been up to is pretty cool. So this year we were hoping to hit 100,000 subscribers, and we had a strategy to get us there, and a big part of that was moving the channel over into full-sized aviation, and that was the plan. And I know we're a long way from that 100,000, and it was a very heady target to set, but we did it for a reason. And that was really to motivate us to go and do it. And my plan was to get qualified to glide, to get qualified to paraglide, to get qualified, get my PPLA, my PPLH, and to go over to California and do some flying over there with Red Bull, which hopefully will happen. And if you saw the video with Aaron from the Flying Bulls a couple of weeks ago, the aerobatic helicopter pilot who I've flown with in the past and worked with, that was part of the gig, was to go and do that and get flying over there, and then move over to Oshkosh. And I was planning on going to Oshkosh this year. Now, obviously, with everything that's going on, Oshkosh, unfortunately, as per most other kind of public events, has been cancelled. For those who aren't aware, Oshkosh is the world's biggest air show. Tens of thousands of aircraft go there over the space of a week. Lectures and air show, and it's a constant thing, and it's like the mecca, if you like, of aviation. And I've never been before, and we were hoping to go this year and fly into that with a couple of big YouTubers. That, by the looks of things, will happen next year now, which is awesome that it's going to happen, hopefully. And I'm looking, hopefully, to fly myself in with a bunch of other people. That's one of the reasons behind getting the licenses sorted. But what I have got involved in the interim is, for those of you who might be kind of into aviation or looking at doing the sim thing, I've been working with a company called Pilot Edge, and we've been testing an online version of Oshkosh because we knew it was such a loss for the aviation community. Pilot Edge is a plug-in provider for actually cross-platform, so any flight sim platform pretty much that you would use nowadays, you can download Pilot Edge 4, and there's a couple of weeks free trial. I'm not sponsored by them in any way, by the way. This is just letting you know what I've been up to. And yeah, you can download it now. You can go and get the free trial, and you can actually fly the Oshkosh arrival with us. And they're running it every day from the 21st. I will be streaming on Twitch over the next week or so a simulated journey to Oshkosh from California, with air traffic control coverage from Pilot Edge on the way there, apart from the areas that they don't cover, and then with the full Oshkosh arrival. So that's going to be pretty cool, I think. So if you're not following us on Twitch already, I know I've not been very active on there lately, but I will be over the next week or so, and you'll be able to come and join us and fly into Oshkosh, which is going to be awesome. And like I say, we've been trialling it. We've run a whole bunch of trials. We've been trialing it every day this week, getting the Oshkosh controllers used to the software. Excuse me. And they've really enjoyed it, and it really did feel like the real event. So if you are into that kind of thing, please come and consider joining in with us. It's going to be quite a cool event for the aviation industry, and I think something quite special, because in a similar way to that which we have been that we as a society now are having to get used to doing things on webcams. We're having to get used to doing things virtually and have Zoom meetings and Skype meetings, things like that. I think this is a pretty cool way of substituting things in. But there we go. Anyway, so without further ado, I am going to give Mr. Sean Hickey a call and have a chat with him. So here we go.
Ooh,
oh,
is it working?
Here he is.
Is it working?
Yes!
Is it? Yay!
Look at that!
Hello, sir.
How you doing?
How are you?
You okay?
Good.
That is an excellent face mask. I love it.
Sorry, I was just taking precautions while I was waiting.
Taking precautions from me. How you doing?
I'm good, sir. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. Not too bad. It's good to see you.
Yeah, and you?
Feels like it's been a while.
It has, hasn't it? It's a strange one. It's also a strange one because I'm a bit calmer because I'm not streaming afterwards as well. So I'm not sort of on edge waiting for things to just to start melting around me, like watching my stream on this monitor while I'm talking to you, watching my stream destroy itself slowly as all the settings weirdly just decide to. But yeah, no, I'm good.
That's amazing. Good stuff. Yeah, cool. It's nice to see you. I'm glad you're doing well. I really want a GEEKSVANA t-shirt, by the way. Where can I go and get one? Have you got a merch store yet?
Yes, we actually just this week we have opened up the Teespring merch store, and you can get these. Are called the presenter tees. For obvious reasons, although Liv doesn't have one yet. So
oh, really?
Just don't tell her if you order one, please.
I won't. We'll have to. I reckon what will happen is that Smeghead will donate one to Liv. That's what's going to happen.
I have one on the way to her. I'm just hoping we don't get, because we had a lot of requests for the merch, so we've had a few offers, and our channel members got a good chunky discount as well. So a lot of them have ordered stuff, and I'm hoping they don't send the photos to Liv before hers arrives.
Oh.
That's what I'm saying. It's big trouble for me. If
you're going to be in trouble. That's amazing. Enter full screen. That's much better. Look at that. Cool, mate. That's amazing. Yeah, I'm going to go on and get one. And do you know what? That genuinely wasn't a planned segue, was it? That was just
no.
I'm like, I really want a t-shirt.
It's quite bizarre, actually.
Everyone's gonna be like, "What's he on about?" Oh, this is rigged. This is rigged. I promise it isn't.
Yeah, well, we only told our channel members actually, so we haven't been publicising it heavily yet. We're going to talk about it more in next week's live stream to explain it and stuff. So yes, no, bizarre.
Very cool, mate. Yeah, so I'll get that, and I might wear that on the next live stream.
Nice.
That should be cool. We keep representing.
Exactly.
So there we go. So what do you reckon? What's new?
Well, I think the big news in the drone industry, certainly in the last week, is the new Skydio. And it's perhaps not necessarily big news that there's another enterprise drone coming, but certainly that Skydio have taken that next leap, because of course the Skydio R1 was that little sort of hover bot that everybody enjoyed, yes. And then of course the Skydio 2, which you can see in front of you, and now they get coming out with the new X2, which is a bespoke machine, which they've built just for enterprise. The tagline is something like ready for business and ready for duty. So it's aimed very much at law enforcement, at military. It's their first folding drone. It's got some amazing specs to it, it has to be said, and of course it uses their full autonomy system. So it's going to be one of the first, or I think it might even be the first enterprise drone that's going to have a live 360 view. So you're going to be able to look all around you on the drone as you're flying along. And there's a few little bits like that that make me wonder if they're going to try and be the first to get the beyond visual line of sight certification and things. But it's very exciting for the drone industry, and it's another version essentially or another step from where Parrot have been as well, because America have obviously moved to limit the use of Chinese drones in government contracts and federal contracts and the military. It's another one of these coming off the back of that push to now suddenly have more contractors come forward with drones they can use, which it's going to help the industry as a whole. Skydio, the Skydio 2 was certainly a very competent little drone, so I think a commercial drone from them should be very good.
Interesting. It's again, and I think we've mentioned this in the past when we've chatted on the channel about the Skydio stuff briefly. It does seem very much as though they are aiming it at the whole law enforcement military side of things.
Yes. They've also had $100 million of Series C funding pour into the company, and they've hired or rather appointed a new COO and a slightly different management structure to deal with this new commercial side of things. And certainly when you look at the COO's first statement, that type of thing, it sounds like the autonomy side and actually the separate branding of Skydio Autonomy is really where they're at. My personal prediction has been for a few months now that Skydio will be someone that will probably get bought up by someone at some point for the autonomy software, not even necessarily the drones. I feel like the drones are being used to show off the AI, if that makes sense, because it's obviously such a good field to show it off in. So I wouldn't be surprised if someone even like Boeing or someone took them over for because Boeing have got a lot of autonomy plans down the road, and it's going to save someone a lot of development to snap someone like that up. But it's impressive. It's an impressive company. They've also now hired a lobbyist in Washington DC full time to lobby on their behalf for government contracts. So yes, it's definitely, that's the sector that they are heavily investing in at the moment, and hopefully they won't forget us hobbyists as they go.
Yeah, and I think that is one of the things that a lot of people are concerned about, I think, at the moment. I certainly see that a lot on my channel, because I obviously concentrate on more on the commercial side and the regulatory side that affects the commercial operators, because that's kind of where my stall sits, right? And I do see that this is going to be, probably sat in that camp.
Yeah, absolutely. The specs are absolutely incredible, and the amount of work it's going to be able to do, the varied types of work. Again, you're looking at something similar to the INAFI that I think it will be more expensive than the INAFI, but it's a quick deploy. So law enforcement, search and rescue, fire, that type of thing, they're going to be able to get it in the air very, very quickly. And obviously the fact that it's got all the autonomy on there means it's going to look after itself while it's up there as well for a lot of the time, and that's going to take a lot of the stress off, let's say, fire department trying to fly up amongst the trees to see where the fire is peaking, etc. It's an impressive piece of kit, it has to be said. There's so many commercial projects coming on there.
Yeah, there really
being announced and coming on the market. It's incredible.
Yeah, it's I think we're just going to see that acceleration now, and particularly when like Skydio getting $100 million in Series C, like that's good money, right? Like that's the kind of money that needs to come in to allow people to challenge the others, I'd say.
It is serious, because if you bear in mind previously to that they'd raised about 70, and they got 2 very good drones out, including the Skydio 2. Okay, not in massive numbers, but they've also ramped up their manufacturing, so now they're saying the numbers are going to be dramatically increased on the Skydio 2 side of things. So it looks like they might be on the cusp of really going somewhere, and it would just be so great to have another brand to talk about, not just DJI, which I love. I absolutely love DJI drones. Love them. I own several of them. There's probably 2 within arm's reach of me right now. But it will be great just to have another couple of brands that we can talk about, which we thought Parrot might have been at one stage, of course.
Yeah. It's interesting, though, that you mentioned Parrot because, like, and quite funny that you talk about Parrot, and we've mentioned about the whole, are they looking to sell the AI rather than necessarily using it? Because for me, it's a bit like us with the drone training, right? Like that for me is a top of the funnel product, and we've got stuff in the back end of that in the ecosystem where actually it's not a loss leader as such, but that's the thing we shout about because it makes it stand out. And then the other things, I'm wondering whether with the Skydio thing, that's exactly what it is, right? It's like people look at Facebook as a social media channel and platform, and I'm like, no, they're a data farming company. Like that's what they do.
Absolutely.
I'm wondering whether the Skydio guys like have realised that actually their IP is where the money sits. And
100%. And in fact, since this new structuring, etc., there's actually now a new navigation part on the website that takes you to the trademark Skydio Autonomy as its own separate brand, essentially.
Right.
And I think we're going to see more and more of that, and certainly value-wise further down the line, if they, they're going to do that thing where they grow as quickly as possible, so then they're much bigger when they are bought out, and it won't necessarily be on grown on profit and that type of thing. They're just going to be a big hulk of a company that's going to cause a large buyout. But yeah, I think it could be the IP, because again, Parrot, the new Anafi USA isn't built by Parrot, it's built by Neotech in the United States, who are obviously a very trusted manufacturer, and Parrot actually transferred all of their IP onto Neotech servers.
Right.
So there are no sort of Parrot workers as such making that drone at all. And as you were saying about the Skydio IP being the value, that's certainly where Parrot's value in that package is. It's their IP which was transferred to the Neotech servers.
Yeah, and this is the thing, right? Like this, I say, you mentioned about the Parrot side of things. So this is the controller, and I was like, have they either copied the Parrot controller, or is it a Parrot controller?
This particular controller is the Skydio 2 controller, which they basically just did a deal with Parrot, and it is a rebranded Parrot controller. They have admitted that. The good thing about the new commercial one is it's coming with a bespoke controller with a crystal screen in the middle, which will be completely redesigned, which is fantastic. But I think the fact that they went for the Parrot controller was almost really because Skydio didn't really see it as necessarily in its purest form as needing a controller, because you've got the beacon and that type of thing, and it's supposed to be fully autonomous. It's supposed to fly itself, and you hold on to the beacon and go, mountain biking down a hill, which otherwise known as me as falling down a hill.
Same, yeah.
And the controller seemed to be an afterthought, and that has been the one thing that I've seen a lot of users that I trust have complained about, is that the controller doesn't really match the quality of the drone itself. But this new commercial one will come with an entirely new controller, which is crazy, really. It's a huge amount of investment to have an entirely new drone, modular drone, and a new enterprise level controller. It's crazy. It's going to definitely change things, because to me it's like it's between Parrot and their which is very, very simple, shall we say. It's got the same controller and app as a $500 drone, all the way up to obviously the RTK 300. And this new Skydio seems to be coming right in the middle there and giving the best of the portability with all of the functionality of the larger DJI birds. I hope it does as well as it looks like it's going to do. There's always the hype, obviously, isn't there? When the Skydio 2 was coming out, we all thought, that's it. This is the last drone anyone's ever going to own. And I actually know more people that have sold their Skydio 2 than have kept them.
Right.
Because it literally is, unless you are an action sports type person, and that's the kind of footage that you need as a camera drone, it doesn't really match up. So yes, it's going to be interesting to see if it can possibly live up to the hype.
Yeah, that's it. And I think for me, one of the big things, having read the bump on it and watched the kind of release videos and the stuff in the press pack that we've seen, the thing that's quite interesting about it is I'm wondering whether they realised that they missed out on quite a big chunk of the market potentially, because we couldn't really buy it in the UK. One, because it wasn't CE certified. As far as I understand, it was only FCC certified.
Yes.
But I'm wondering whether they'll do it with this, because they're putting a controller with it, which means that all of a sudden it's like, well, you know, it is designed to be flown, and then the autonomy, that 360 view,
that's right,
gives people that, I shouldn't use the word peace of mind, because we shouldn't rely on it, but it gives us that additional situational awareness to keep ourselves and the drone safe.
It does, exactly. And I think it's it's going to be interesting. Obviously, I also took the fact that they are such a small company, so they focused on their own back door, as it were. You know, they tried to keep things more simple from that point of view. But it will be interesting, because if they have a commercial drone available in all markets, and a camera drone available, prosumer drone available only in the North American market, so it'll be interesting how that works through. But I would have thought, because Europe is a huge commercial drone market at the moment, isn't it? It's I know when you look at the percentages for prosumer and consumer drones, we're tiny. We're a tiny part of the market in comparison to North America, etc. But to miss out Europe for a commercial drone, I think, would be more serious, because there is a lot of commercial users over here.
Yeah, definitely. No, it's very interesting. You see, Elsmeged's got himself promoted to spanner status, but only because he is a spanner. That's all. Not for anything.
You will regret that.
I think
with about 10 minutes. No, and Andy's actually was actually one of the first moderators on my channel, and he has been an absolute star. He's been absolutely fantastic. I've even given him remits before shows and that type of things when we've had controversial subjects on.
Nice.
And he's a really good guy. He's a very loyal person within the drone community.
That's it. And this is for me what it's all about. Like we said, you know, when I first started the channel, it's all about the community, and it is true. Like we're seeing the certain people, certain characters pop up all across all the different channels that we're on, and all the interactions that we all have as a community of you know, I hate saying the word, but YouTubers, I suppose, that do this kind of stuff. You know, that it's good. Yeah. I've just seen as well, there's people asking about well, another big one for the aviation community, and I talked about simulators earlier, someone's mentioned it. Microsoft Flight Sim 2020 comes out on the 18th of August. Are you gonna go for it?
I have to wait.
Okay.
Now, there's 2 or 3 things to this. Okay, I have an absolutely fantastic PC sat down there, which I bought for streaming and for my YouTubing, and I've promised myself I won't use it for gaming. I want to keep it as a beast, and my streams run very effectively, 1080p, 60 frames. You know, very, very nice streams. So I don't want to overload it and have stuff sat on it and use it for other things. But the new simulator isn't out on the new Microsoft console, which is where I play my games, the Series X, until next year. So I wonder how long past August, which is my birthday month, I wonder how long past that month I'm going to last until it's actually installed on this gaming PC.
I mean, it does look epic.
Oh, it just is absolutely fantastic. I mean, it's, you know, to be able to render the entire world is just incredible. You know, they're literally saying wherever you live, you can go find your house. It is going to be stunning. The aircraft, the early beta testing that people are putting up on YouTube is just mind blowing. And of course, I get to stay on the ground.
Yeah, bonus.
Yay!
That's it. No, I mean, so I got beta access. The way the betas seemed to work was that
just drop that.
Just saying.
Just drop that.
Yeah, well, this is the thing though, right? So the first round of betas weren't actually that good, because you got a very, very small time slot where you could go on.
Yes.
You could do a certain thing in a certain place with a certain thing, and that was it, and it just disappeared and stopped. And it was like, oh, okay, that was barely worth it. And then you've seen all these people putting on, you know, amazing screenshots, and it did not look like that at first. But but yeah, I mean, I think what they've done, they've just chosen thousands of people with as many different spec PCs as they could, NDA'd them and give them a go. But I think for me, like, I always obviously used to use the Microsoft series and had all of them, and then I know you're shaking your
Ryan
head
East, Ryan East, be quiet. Let's not start that again, okay?
I tell you what, we almost made it to getting him on a flight the other week, didn't we? With the amount that like people pledging money for it. If you want to see it, then
no idea. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Then super chats for the win. Super chats and super stickers, and we'll get Sean flying. But
it's hard to come on an aviation show and keep the conversation away from aviation. that's the problem I've got, isn't it? Really, so it's a bit of a losing battle.
Yeah, sorry. You've kind of stitched yourself there. That's all good. But yeah, so I've used the whole kind of Microsoft series, and up until they did the latest versions and X and stuff like that, and there was no advancement for a very long time. So I switched over to X-Plane, which has actually been very good to me, and it's frustrating because, in a way, I say it's frustrating because actually, I, like a lot of people, have got a lot of money invested in that platform. Right, you kind of get tied in because I've got ortho scenery that's cost a lot of money for different places.
Absolutely.
I mean, I've got the cockpit here, right, with the 2 big screens that I still haven't launched onto the channel properly. That is coming. We're trying to just work a few things out first. And yeah, it's just one of those where I really want to make the jump, but actually I'm one of those who would have pre-ordered it, but I just want to make sure that it actually is going to work with everything and work properly before I make the
I
leap.
can completely understand that, and they're going to, because they're cross-platforming this, and they're obviously wanting the gaming and the professional community to buy in. There's going to be some crazy offers on it come Christmas time, I would have thought as well. So yeah, it'd be interesting. You did get one question actually. Airview UAV was asking what kind of controller you would recommend.
Yeah, so
to use that with.
I've actually, if you go and check out in the video description, I've got an Amazon shop which I don't tend to shout about very much, but and if you go onto that, you can see all of the stuff on there which I use in my simulator, apart from the stuff you can't buy. From Amazon. So but the controls, which are right here, I don't know whether I can get it so you can see it. Oh god, this is going to go all kinds of wrong now, right? Yeah. So that's the yokes. You're, like I say, you're literally sat in the cockpit right now. Yeah, that was awful because that was the yoke and my crotch. I'm sorry, everybody.
I was literally about to say, we'll just move nice segue on from you're literally sat in the cockpit.
Sorry. Yeah, so it's the Honeycomb Alpha flight controls, which are amazing. Like literally, Honeycomb have come out with this. It's a new company, brand new product. Well, I say brand new. It's been out almost 8 months now, I think, something like that. But yeah, absolutely incredible. You will not get anything better for your money. I've used yokes which are worth like £2,000 force feedback yokes. I've used the cheap Cytec yoke, which is £100, which just isn't worth the money, to be honest. This is worth every penny and then some.
Very nice. And you've got the shop set up showing different budgets as well, which I like.
That's it, yeah. And actually, I think, has it got the, I can't remember now because it was a while ago, has it got the super, like, ultimate PC build in there?
Yes, the ultimate X-Plane PC build.
So that is what I'm streaming from right now. So when you're talking about PCs, it's the 10,000 i9 10900 and it's very like nice. 1080 Ti, 2080 Ti.
Core i9, yeah, very nice.
So it's a pretty kick-ass PC. So yeah, there we go. It's pretty cool, and we'll be showing you all soon. So there we are. But no, it's I think, like you say, exciting for the drone industry at the moment with all the changes. I'd say as well, exciting for the aviation industry if we can get away from all of the COVID-related horrendous stuff that's going on, which is affecting everybody. But you know, I think once we can get out of the other side and hopefully things return to normal, there's some pretty cool advancements on the
exactly.
horizon,
I mean, there is going to be. I know the aviation market, commercially and privately, is going to be very different after everything settles down. Because again, obviously, everyone's coming out of lockdown at the moment. Aviation won't be coming out of lockdown for a long time yet, properly. But I took things like the Virgin refinancing. I took that that was quite a positive that they managed to get such high refinancing privately without actually having to go to government money or anything else like that. I think that shows that there are investors waiting in the wings waiting for the aviation industry to wake back up.
Yeah.
And yes, there's going to be a few less airlines, unfortunately, and a few less routes and things, but perhaps it'll end up being a healthier business and a healthier thing afterwards, once it's all settled down.
Yeah, fingers crossed, eh? So yeah,
Indeed.
There we go. Good stuff. Well, mate, thank you for joining us again. It's very much appreciated.
No
And it's nice to have had a bit longer to natter about stuff tonight,
Yes.
rather than having to rush off and then me having to dive over to the next guest. So,
Exactly.
So yeah, thank you for that. We'll try and maybe mix it
No
up
problem.
and do a bit more of this as and when we get a chance to. Might even
Sounds good.
get El Smeghead in one time if we want to cause
we
absolute
did
carnage.
Yeah, we did that twice. The second time it did work very well. We used Zoom, actually. I know you've done that with one of your guests. Yeah. So if you use Zoom to bring him in, it's perfect. And I know in his newer staff accommodation, he's got much better Wi-Fi, which is also good.
Excellent.
But yes, but then there's obviously El Smeghead himself that might still break the stream.
Yeah,
so
that's it.
No warranties are offered.
No, definitely not. Well, mate, thank you ever so much. Have a wonderful week. And if I don't catch you before, I know we will offline, but if I don't catch you online before, I look forward to seeing you almost this time next week.
Thank you, sir. I will see you very soon.
On your live stream. Cheers, mate.
Cheers.
See you soon. Bye. There we go. So massive thank you as always to Sean over at GEEKSVANA for joining us. It's always a pleasure to have him on and get his take on the drone industry. If you haven't already done so, then as soon as we finish on the stream here, please go over and check out GEEKSVANA. Go and subscribe to his channel. There's a link to it. The clicky link is I've just dropped into the chat there. A good supporter of the show, good supporter and friend of the channel. And as with all of these things that we're trying to do, particularly in the aviation industry, we're all working together to try and bring you guys in the community everything that we want. There we go. Yeah, I've already tweaked the volume up. I've no idea why it does that every time. I'm going to have to do more digging, but hopefully that's back to where it should be now. There we go. So yeah, see people dropping in there. Do I think a drone Tim's on the books? There are actually a couple of commercial drone simulators out there, and there's a couple that you can have that you can put goggles on, so VR goggles on, and actually work as in, and you can do things like practicing wind turbine inspections and things like that. I'll do some digging and get some links, and I'll try and bring those into the next show. And I might even look to do some reviews of them over the next couple of weeks on the channel if people are interested. So yeah, let me know and I'll get that sorted. Yeah, I know. I don't know what happens with the volume. It's something to do with the scenes, I think, when I jump between them. Although it is set exactly the same, and I've double checked and triple checked. Yeah, FPV. There are some really cool FPV, like Rotor Rush, I think, was the one I used during lockdown on the PS4, and those are pretty epic. And I'd quite like to see how you can go using those simulators and then step across to the actual kind of real thing. It'd be great to take someone who's never done FPV and drop them over to that. That'd be pretty cool. Let's have a look, see anyone else in here. Agent K's gone. See ya, Phil Besant. Yeah, just answered that one from Phil. So yeah, if you guys have got any questions, like I say, please drop them into the chat. I'm going to be hanging around for the next kind of 10 minutes or so. Happy to answer any questions I have. One question I've got for you, you know, hopefully by the fact that you're here, you've been enjoying the channel, you're enjoying what we've been up to so far. Elsmeghead, your lips are moving, but I can't hear anything. Is that the same for everybody else? It looks as though I'm going out from here. I think more people would be shouting at me if they couldn't hear me. Turn your volume up, although he can't hear me saying that, can he? Hilarious. So yeah, what I'd like to know from you is, obviously I've only done, in the last couple of weeks I've dropped 3 videos, I think, rather than doing one every single day, but I have made a determined effort to make those videos a little bit more edited, a little bit more kind of set so that thanks guys for the heads up on the volume. That's perfect, thank you. Yeah, I've tried to make them, like I say, a little bit more. I've still done them in kind of one take, but then tried to chop out the waffle and all that sort of stuff, throw in some graphics and all that. Is that working for you all? And if so, please let me know. If it isn't, then please let me know. I'm trying to take the things that the feedback that you've all been giving me over the last 12 months, and it's mad that it's kind of only 12 months really that we've been doing this kind of thing and doing the channel properly. Trying to take your feedback and do less of the arm waving, less of the waffling and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, just let me know, and there'll be more of that to come. We're going to break those regulation ones down that we've been doing recently into individual aircraft, and I will be doing updated ones on the rules and regulations, because a few things have changed, not just the dates, since I did those original ones back in the day. So so yeah, you know, I think hopefully it'll work a lot better, and as I say, you're going to see a lot more GA, a lot more general aviation stuff on the channel over the next couple of weeks, because I'm doing a lot more of that. So there we go. David Bednam, thanks to UAVHUB for my shiny new A2 CFC. You are welcome. Thank you for trusting the company, and I hope you enjoyed it. John Ashley, excellent, good work. So he says, hey Matt, just got back from Whitmore today. Your instructor Matthew was absolutely superb at the OE. Yeah, Matthew is an absolute legend and a gentleman. If by the way, he has his own YouTube channel which he recently started. It's Real Balsa Modeler, and it is incredible. Like, that guy is so skilled and talented beyond kind of teaching what he does with us, and then doing the examinations and all the training and teaching for us. He is one of the most talented aero modelers I've seen, and it's amazing. He does he started to do like creation videos, so building balsa gliders and things like that, and then getting them up and running. I will drop a link in, but unfortunately, although it's funny, anyone who asks a rotary pilot not to wave his hands and feet around is being very cruel. Absolutely, I fully agree. But having said that, I'm absolutely maxed out by trying to type at the same time as talk. So if I've not got an FMS or something like that, or some knobs I can twiddle, if I've got to actually think about it and find his channel, I won't be able to. So I will drop a link to that. And please go and support him as well, because it'd be really cool to see him do more of that. Cool. Peter Campbell, content's been good. When we're used to seeing it so often, it can feel like the focus has gone away. So just throwing some short updates of what's to come, maybe. Yeah, no worries at all. I will do, sir. I am trying to keep everyone up to date on the socials, on things like Facebook, but I will endeavour to do a bit more of that. And like I say, there will be more content coming to the channel, but you might find that the drone stuff just comes once or twice a week, and then it'll be GA stuff once or twice a week. So there we go. Cool. What is cool, though, I suppose, is that there are very few questions coming in, and that is hopefully a function of the fact that everyone's starting to get their head around the rules and regulations, and that the new videos that we're doing are answering the questions that we keep seeing in the comments every day. It does mean, I suppose, that I'm going to get fewer super chats, but there we go. So when are you flying to Birmingham, Matt? Hi Chris, how you doing? Good to see Chris Shaw in here. Pesky Seagull aerial photography and video. If you can get me a waived landing fee, then I'll see you there. But I think landing at Birmingham will probably cost me more than an hour of flying my Cessna 172. So there we go. James from Camwings, was I affected by the Twitter hack? No. And Hasco74, yes, I am going to talk about my drone journey if everyone wants to hear it. So for me, on the drone side of things, it's funny talking about our instructor Matthew and the fact that he does the kind of modelling side of things. That was how I really started out. It was me wanting so desperately to fly that, you know, I was never going to be able to afford to fly. We came from a council estate in Stoke effectively, and you know, that was it. And I think when I always the only thing I ever wanted to do was to be a pilot and to fly. The only way I thought I was ever going to get into it was by flying model planes, and I used to help my dad on the milk round and things like that. He was a milkman. Help my dad on the milk round at the weekends and stuff, and get a bit of pocket money. And I used that to buy small model planes, and eventually saved up and got enough to get the radio set. And actually what I started off with was a 3-channel glider, balsa wood glider kit that I built in my bedroom, with a small Cox 0.49 engine with a little spring on it that you used to wind back, and it started itself up. And that was how I started. So for me, and this is one of the very frustrating things, if I'm honest, between myself and the crowd who are here now watching. This is one of the really frustrating things for me, because everyone sees, or a lot of people see what I'm doing on the channel and think, oh, this guy, he's from the CAA, he's totally anti-hobby flying, he's only in it for the money and all that sort of stuff. And I'm like, no. I started off as a member of the BMFA. I started off as a member of my local model flying club. That was what I did for years and years and years and years, until I managed to got into the Air Cadets, and still flew model planes while I was in there, but got into the Air Cadets, started doing some flying, became a staff cadet at a gliding school, volunteer gliding school, managed to then get some gliding time, real gliding time off the back of that, and set up my own computer company and software company, as it was, at 15, and made enough money from that to be able to do my private pilot's license. That was how I started. But all of this time I was still flying model planes and model helicopters. Then I got into the Air Force, did my pilot's license, got into the Air Force, and towards the I didn't know it was going to be the end of my Air Force career, but I got back into flying model helicopters in particular, and realised that there was probably a gap with the helicopters we could build and the way I could fly. Having done competition flying with those kind of things as a young child, I realised that actually now the helicopter's big enough to put cameras on. So we put a camera onto a model helicopter. We were looking back now, almost 10 or 11 years ago now. And we had to manually fly those helicopters and build the gimbals ourselves and all that sort of stuff. And that was how we started off. And I did that on the side whilst I was in the Air Force, and made some reasonable money, to be quite honest. And it was great because there were so few other people around doing it. Then when the kind of regulations started to become such, and the proliferation of those systems started to become such that the CAA started to clamp down, that was when we realised we were probably going to have to get a permission from the CAA, and we weren't going to get away with flying without it anymore, which, scarily looking back now, that's what we did. Like, I was a helicopter instructor in the Air Force, flying a massive model helicopter with a camera on it, with no insurance, no qualifications really. We had spoken to the CAA, and insurance didn't exist really at the time. We'd spoken to the CAA and told them what we were doing. They were content as long as I was flying the aircraft, and we kept all the logs and records and stuff. But yeah, then the pressure came on to actually kind of get the sorry, just trying to see what's coming in. Get back on track, but trying to get the permissions that we needed. So that's where we were at. And I did a course with a company that no longer exists, Euro USC, back in the day, as soon as the CAA made us do it. And that was it. What became very obvious, though, in doing that course was that the product wasn't very good, in my opinion, and the training was lacking. It was death by PowerPoint for 3-4 days, as it was at the time. The flight assessment wasn't appropriate, and that was when we went down the road of setting up as an NQE, as it was at the time. So and that process, strangely, because we weren't a company, I was one guy trying to set up as a training school, the CAA actually pushed back hard on that. And I think from their point of view at the time, they only wanted 1 or 2 schools, and it was at 3 or 4 at the time. It was at 3 at the time. And they kept us waiting for about 18 months from creating the training materials to actually being signed off originally as an NQE. So yeah, and then we became an NQE, and so we were allowed to do the training for everybody. And alongside that, and this was really cool, alongside that, we were all the time doing quite a lot of work and doing a lot of film and TV work with the original kind of big drones that were available, carrying now what are quite small cameras, I guess, right? Like the capability of those massive drones that we had to have a transit van almost in most cases to transport around, and 3 or 4 people to operate properly, um, was just how it was. And it was a very different industry back then, I suppose. But we carried on doing a lot of that alongside the training side of things. Still, managed to do quite a bit of FPV flying, a lot of drone flying, obviously, a little bit of model helicopter flying at the same time as still doing the commercial work. But then the commercial work really did take over, and that became pretty much what I did. So I ended up getting instructors in to teach and do the examinations for what was Icarus at the time, now UAVHUB, so that I could go off and carry on flying. And actually our instructors, Tom in particular and myself, took it in turns to do a lot of the flying and the instructing, so that we were on both sides of things. And really that kind of took us to all over the world. So, I've flown EB in Peru, flown EB and the Falcon 8 inspection drones in the Dominican Republic. I've been out to spent a summer in Bermuda filming the America's Cup with the Alta 8, the first ever live international sports broadcast. Flown things like the free fly Alta 8, Alta 6, the Aerogun, on film sets all over the world. A big drone called the Halo, for film and TV in the UK. And a lot of that's been collaborative work. A lot of that has been white label work. And again, talked about this in the past. I'm happy to go into it in detail in the future if people want to hear the actual route to this. A lot of the people who've done our business training have heard this. So if you want to know the actual journey, I suppose, then we've got products that kind of teach you the processes that we went on, and that we've gone through to get to where we have. And it was all about business development, and it was, not right place, right time, but it was working hard to network and put ourselves in front of the right people who could make the decisions, and also delivering a very safe operation in places where other people couldn't, with equipment that other people didn't have and couldn't fly. So and that's where we are now, I suppose. I don't do much of the flying anymore, which I do miss, but at the same time, for me, it's I've got to move on personally and professionally in my aviation career. I've always got the drone and the model aircraft thing to fall back on and to do, but for me personally, I've got unfinished business with my manned aviation and my manned flying. And again, for those who don't know, I had an accident whilst teaching in the Puma 2 5 years ago now. Puma 2 for the Air Force. Broke 2 vertebrae in my neck and lost my medical cat, and was told I'd definitely never fly again, let alone probably do a lot of other things again. So to be getting back in the air over this couple of weeks, and again, those of you who've been supporting me from the beginning, thank you for that. And it's very much appreciated, and what kind of journey this has been. But yeah, that's where we're at, and I'm hoping ultimately to get into the manned filming side of things, in a big way, whether that's us doing it ourselves or me kind of going in and doing it for other companies, but then introducing the drone side into that as well for them. So it's that's kind of a 10-minute précis of it. If you want to know specifics, then let me know, and I'll get those for you all. But a lot of it, and this is one of the things, everyone, I think that has been a common thread for anyone who's been watching these. You have to practice, and you have to put the time, effort and energy in to absolutely mastering your craft, all right? It's like Sean, okay? Sean's live streams wouldn't be so big, they wouldn't be so popular, and he wouldn't have such a strong following if he wasn't such a master at delivering those live streams as well as he does. And I think it's very much the same for us. I mean, what are we looking at now? The thick end of 30 years for me flying model aircraft. That 30 years is why now I can still, and this is the thing, right? A lot of people are in the race to the bottom in the drone industry and all this. And again, if you go and watch some of the playlists on the channel when we finish this, and you'll be able to see, like, I don't take part in that race to the bottom in terms of flying. If someone wants to pay me 1,500 quid a day to go and fly their drone, I'll do it. Okay, anywhere in the world, and I'll do a great job, even having not flown much in the last 12 months. But what those people are actually paying for isn't me to go and fly for the day for 1,500 quid for them. They're paying for that 30 years of practice and training and knowledge and capability. And if you want to be able to demand a similar amount, if you want to be able to do that, yes, it's reduced a little bit now because the safety of these new aircraft are incredible. The capability of these aircraft are incredible. But that doesn't account for 100% of the job. For me, I turn the autonomy off when I'm flying an L-8 and I'll fly the thing in manual because I can put it exactly where I want it, and I know that I can do exactly what production are asking me to do safely and efficiently. And if I need to, I'll switch the autonomy on, I'll put it into GPS and take a 10-second breather, or if there's a lot going on and I need to just think a second, I'll pop it into GPS, have the conversation, then knock it into manual again and crack on. So it's a bit like flying glass cockpit aircraft for me, like the computerized cockpit aircraft. You're then managing the system, but actually if you can learn to fly the aircraft without that augmentation and you can master that skill, you're always going to be better and more capable than someone who doesn't. So you've got to go and practice. Okay, these aircraft, yes, you can take it out of the box and fly it safely. Yes, you can take it out of the box, fly it safely if you haven't flown for 6 months or whatever it might be. But that isn't the way you're going to be demanding the right kind of money that you want to be demanding, and it's definitely not the way that you're going to be able to deliver a product to your clients that means that you're going to be able to justify large amounts of money. So yeah, went on a bit of a kind of, not rant, but it's yeah, and I've just seen Matt Preston drop in, right? Those two PfCO operators lost the plot when the drone went into ATI mode, and that's exactly it, right? Like, for me, you shouldn't be flying aircraft, and I'm not going to go into this specific circumstance because it's not fair to. I wasn't there, I wasn't involved, it was nothing to do with me. But I don't think you should be flying those kind of aircraft, large aircraft or complex aircraft or dangerous aircraft, without being able to fully control that aeroplane if and when things go wrong. And that's why, as a manned aviator, people used to say, like, why do you go out and do emergencies every day? Why can't you just go out and enjoy flying when you go out and fly the Puma? Why can't I just go and fly around at low level? Why, as an instructor, you're such a bastard and you always give us emergencies, especially when things are going well? I'm like, well, actually, I tend to give you emergencies when things are going wrong because that's what's going to happen for real, right? So it's one of those where the reason we practice those emergencies all the time in the real world is because then that one time it happens for real, it isn't a stressful event. It's not a stressor. And for anyone who's done our training, this comes back down to the human factor side of things, where the more often you can expose yourself to something that is stressful, the less stressful that stressor, the thing that causes stress, becomes. And that's the whole point, right? Is that, so when you fly in your Matrice 210, you lose GPS, you don't panic. You know exactly what to do. I mean, the thing was still flying, right? It's still flying even in ATI. It's still stabilised to some degree. You should know exactly what to do, not panic, bring the aircraft home and land it on safely, or, know what to do if you lose line of sight, for example. So, yeah, it's one of those things for me. Practice does make perfect. Practicing... After ATI practice, I'm going to set fire to my drone, Matt Preston says. Make sure you do a video of it. You'll probably make more money on YouTube than you realise if you do that. Yeah, tag me in it. That'd be hilarious. So yeah, that's it, guys. I think for me, it's practice. It's practice for emergencies. Train hard, fight easy. Okay, that's the way we used to do it. And again, it's funny because I was meant to go flying last Thursday or last Friday, and full size flying, and it got cancelled. And in fact, no, sorry, it was last Tuesday, and the weather was awful, and I was chomping at the bit to get and go flying. And my wife, Mrs. MPW, made a really good point. She said, "Look, you are now. If you go flying, it's for fun. Okay, you're gonna fly on good weather days. You're gonna go flying when you want to and do what you want to do. You are no longer training for the worst case scenario. Okay, and that's a very good point. That I've got to make that readjustment, right? Where I say train hard, fight easy, and I still will for emergencies and stuff. And we need to in the drone world. That is what we need to do. So yeah, just an interesting one, I think, for all of us. But there we go. Andy Keast, is it really necessary to have those huge drones now with the capability of smaller drones? What's the advantage of a bigger drone? I would always now try and fly the smallest drone I could, the lightest drone I could, the one with the most redundancy, the one with the lowest risk, because ultimately now I would say for 97-98% of the work that people do, the footage and the data that people want to capture, you can capture with a Mavic Mini or a Mavic 2 Pro. Okay, if you can't do it with that, you can do the rest with an Inspire 2. There's the odd outside edge case where, for example, thermal or something like that, you'll have to have a specific aircraft to do that. For me, and again, this is what I teach when I talk about, and for anyone who's come to any of my seminars, or anything like that, I teach quite a distinctive pathway. And for us, it starts at the sensor. Okay, so the only reason now I would fly a large drone, like the one I'm going to be talking about in a couple of weeks that's just been announced by a filming company, the only reason I would fly a large drone is if production or the client needed a particular type of data, or needed me to fly a particular sensor, or needed me to fly a particular lens and lens control solution. And if I couldn't get that or fit that onto a smaller drone, that's when I would fly or need to fly a larger drone. And we do that. That's why we flew the Alta 8 out in Bermuda. That's why I flew the Alta 8 in Denmark last year, or 2 years ago now, for the World Sailing Championships, because that is what that needed, the aircraft we needed to fly to get the camera package in the air that production needed. However, I would much prefer to have done it with an Inspire 2. So hopefully that answers your question there. Vic Langley, could I suggest a good source for terms and conditions? If I'm honest, you're probably just best speaking to a lawyer. Someone else might be able to jump in and help and let you know. But yeah, for us, we got a lawyer to draw them up. To be fair, there's probably enough versions of them knocking around now on the internet that you can find some and tailor them to you. But for me, that kind of thing is a couple of hours of money with a lawyer well spent, because it's gonna save your ass if and when, heaven forbid, things go wrong. So there we go. Cool, love the Mini. I left out model aircraft, rigged up a death slide for them from my bedroom window, put JetX in them and sent them crashing into the garden in flames. Oh, those JetX engines were amazing. You've just taken me right back, Lindsay. Thank you for that. I might even get some JetX engines and a little balsa glider for the boys. They would love that. There we go. So anything else? Cheers for the account. Clear as ever. Thank you. Shane Bradshaw. Matt, do you concentrate on the training now, or does your company still fly for film and TV footage? So, as a company, we made a decision this time last year to concentrate purely on training and not do any flying anymore. We were putting so many people through training that because things like the channel were becoming so popular that lots of people were going over to our training system, that I didn't think it was fair to carry on doing that work when our marketing budget for that work was more than most people would bring in a year when they were starting out. I didn't think it was fair to be poacher and gamekeeper and take that work away from our community. So instead, what we did was that we passed on the big bodies of work that we had to people in the community, and there have been people in here, the guys from Echo Alpha. There's actually a couple of people in here. I don't want to name you. If you've been in this position, then please feel free to jump in and let everybody know, and don't feel obliged to by any stretch. But there are people I can see here now who also have benefited from us passing work their way. I'm very much a big believer in karma, and I'm sure those things eventually will come back to repay themselves. And ultimately, I couldn't be doing what I do now without you guys. So it's working. So yeah, we don't do any work now commercially. We pass all of our inquiries on to the community, to those people in the community who are the most prevalent normally, and yeah, and that's what we do, because I believe in it, and I think that's the right way to do it. One thing I will do is, if someone from overseas wants to pay me to go and fly for them, then I by all means will go and do that. But again, only if they're willing to pay my rate, which at the moment is £1,500 a day plus expenses. So yeah, and there's plenty of inquiries. If I'm honest, I'm enjoying doing what we're doing right now. I'm enjoying spending time with the family and taking a bit of time out and doing my own flying. So yeah, it's quite interesting. AirView UAV, what's the legal height limit for a manned helicopter over houses? Last night someone was flying over us and I'd say they were less than 500 feet and they weren't the police. Yeah, it's a difficult question to answer. So technically, with any kind of aircraft, you have to be able to alight clear of the area that you're flying over. It doesn't necessarily apply to military aircraft, but civilian aircraft, you have to be able to alight clear. So for a helicopter, we would have to be able to auto-rotate to a clear area. Now, bear in mind, it's very, very difficult to judge how high another aircraft is. 500 feet, 1,000 feet, there's not many people that could say exactly how high an aircraft is in the daytime. At night time, probably even more, well, definitely even more difficult. Things look a lot closer at night than they actually are. Normally, it's 1,000 feet over congested areas for manned aircraft, unless they are on a takeoff or landing or an approach, or they're conducting emergency training, or they have a waiver from the CAA. So there are certain times that aircraft are allowed to fly lower than 500 feet for certain things, but not very often. So interesting, yeah. If it's not the police, could it have been a military aircraft you didn't realise at 500 feet. The other thing to bear in mind is that the military and the government organisations that conduct aviation in and around the UK don't always necessarily fly the traditional military helicopters that you might be familiar with. So that's one of those that is just worth bearing in mind. It could have been something else going on that you wouldn't necessarily be aware of. Cam Wings, James, thank you ever so much for your super sticker. That's very much appreciated. I'm sorry, your super chat. Sorry, I'm sorry I missed that when it dropped in. I'm just trying to keep up and catch up on the thing here. Right, good training doing the A2 CFC currently. Great stuff. Darren Eleanor done 2 courses with UAVHUB, faultless on both occasions. Thank you. I'm glad that's the case. TAA, you also need to recognise what the sequence of the LEDs on your drone mean. Absolutely, and that is one of the things on the large drones in particular that I always used to test candidates on. And there's some of you in here who will have been who will have noticed that or been subjected to that, should I say, because I will have done your flight assessments back in the day, and that was one of the big things that I used to pick people up on. Not knowing what the purple flashes meant. Triple flashes and double flashes with the things like the DJI A2 when they were around, and it's super important that you know and understand the system that you're flying, because if something goes wrong, it's on you ultimately. Cool, there we go. So Lindsay Hayes, you've done a good job with the online training, thank you very much. AirView, thanks Matt, it was definitely a private helicopter. I don't know then, mate, I'm sorry. Perhaps higher than you thought it was. Yeah, noisier than it might have been, or perhaps they were trying to make it into a private site. I really don't know, to be honest. Pesky Seagull, so Chris from Pesky Seagull saying, yeah, most flights show up on Radar 24 or open ADSB and show the altitude. That's a good one, actually. So I actually have the Flight Radar 24 on my phone, and then anything that's hidden from Flight Radar 24 I pick up on ADSB Exchange, it's called, which is free, and you can look on there, and a lot of stuff that, like the police helicopters, military helicopters, and aircraft, and the air ambulance, things like that that don't necessarily show up on Flight Radar will show up generally on the ADSB Exchange, and in there you'll be able to see what it was, and it'd be interesting actually to see what it was, and you could probably have found out where it was going as well, although ironically at low level, if it was low then it wouldn't be picked up by enough stations, but there we go. Dan McCarthy, the low level route between Manchester and Liverpool in a Tomahawk was always 15 minutes of wondering, do you think this is wise? Yeah, absolutely. So for those who don't know, there is a you've got Liverpool, which way around is it going to be for you guys? Liverpool on this side, Manchester on this side, and between the two, they have their own chunks of airspace that go pretty much down to the surface. And between the two is an area called the low-level corridor, which off the top of my head goes up to 1,350 feet. So it's from 0 to 1,350 feet. And yeah, you get aircraft kind of transiting north to south through there, so that they don't have to talk to air traffic control. And there aren't those many places to go when you're at 1,350 feet. In a light aircraft or helicopter over that area, because it's quite built up. So yeah, it's a good shout, Dan. That Norrie, thank you for the super sticker, you absolute hero. Thank you to everyone for that. Shane Bradshaw, you're welcome. AirView ADSB was turned off. To be honest, I'd turn my ADSB and mode Sierra off as well if I was doing something naughty. I wouldn't want many people to see, but that's a story for another day, and takes me back to doing naughty things that I shouldn't have done with an aeroplane or a helicopter. So there we go. I think we are going to wrap up there, because I've gone on for ages and ages and ages. Oh, God, I can witter on, can't I? Especially when I've got a guest on. That's mad. Thank you ever so much, everybody, for joining us. It would be much appreciated if you could just hit that like button now. It doesn't cost you anything. Just please press that thumbs up for me before you leave. Thank you for all joining us. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Spread the word about the channel. Go and check out Sean. I'll drop his details in there. And as I say, thank you, everyone. I look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks' time. Look after yourselves until then, and I'll catch you very soon. I've been Matt Williams. Fly safe and blue skies.